Hello, so this is a little test on the audio. Hello, so this is a little test on the audio. Yeah, should be okay. I can experiment with it later. So yeah, so we should be live now. It's going to be a new series on coding a game engine. I'm doing it on my laptop. It's not the fastest, especially when I'm recording. When I'm not recording, it's okay, but when I'm recording, it is a bit slow. It's the reason I'm not using OBS. I would like to use OBS. It's just like that was really slow. Hopefully, just using the Restream website is manageable. Maybe I've been putting my computer. I don't have space to get Xcode on there. So didn't bother with that. Okay, so I've already done quite a bit on this already, so we're not starting from the start. So let me show you what we've got. This is based on the SFML framework, so that uses the drawing and the rendering and producing the window. Eventually, I will port it over to SDL. Those sort of things I'm not that fussed about. The main thing for me is to create a game engine, not super low level, but more high level in it has features. So let me show you. I've got this to-do list. So it has features that you would see in a lot of games that I find game engine either don't have or they're a bit sort of complex to implement. So these are the features that the game engine has. These are the stuff that I want to implement. So I'm currently working on the engine stuff and less on the game stuff at the moment. So like the input manager, that's what I'm working on. I want sequences like that. I'm part way into that. I want to be able to do quick time events. Like I don't find game engines really have that sort of stuff in there. And rapid button presses, gestures, some stuff have that. I want to, this is pretty generic stuff. That's only to add Python in there. And even the GUI stuff, I'll find like they'll have it, but sometimes you have to do a bit of extra work to get it into a state that you're creating a game. Obviously, you want to, you're going to have to modify it to the way you want it to look, but sometimes you need to do a fair bit of modification before you would even practically put in a game. FPS counters, obviously it depends on the complexity of the engine. Something like Unreal Engine, it has a lot there, but again, that's very complex then, and to do simple stuff is quite difficult. So this is more of a coding-based thing, and eventually want to add stuff like also like this accessibility for blind and deaf people with both built-in voice readers. After seeing what Naughty Dog did with Last of Us 2, I'm like, I would like to add something in there. So this game engine, again, not very low level. That's not really what it's about. It's more creating a practical game engine. Okie dokie. So this is, well, actually it's one more on the GitHub, but like all the code is here as well, to be fair. So we got a bunch of engine stuff. Currently, if you was to go to, let's say, the splash state, go to the CPP. So this is what it looks like. This is the event handling that we've, put in there. So we've got quick time events, so you can get the next input. And yeah, really you're not seeing or interacting with any SFML code in the splash state stuff. See, that's been commented out. You're interacting with the game engine, which so far I'm calling Sonar Game Engine on GitHub. It's titled Project XYZ, so don't really have any name for it. Let me know if you have any suggestions. I've got the XYZ, so good. Okay, so somebody commented, it is only 2D or 3D. Currently, it's only 2D, so I wasn't that fussed about making a 3D thing because, again, my goal was with this was to create something that was nice, easy, and practical to use for small games with 1 or 2 people. There's loads of engines out there. This is not trying to replace Unreal or Unity or even some of the complex 2D game engines. This is just more for something small, personal project, and people can use it as well. So yeah, it's 2D only. So I'm gonna leave my phone here open like this so I can see any comments. Okie dokie. So what are we gonna go on? Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna continue with the coding aspect. Let me open it up. is a bit laggy. I'll have to sort out Xcode for next time on the computer. I'm low on space, so it's got the 2013 Mac Pro, and it's got the lowest additional components to install. Typical. Sorry, password in. Okay, so this is pretty slow. I'm gonna have to transfer for next time. Okay, so yeah, in terms of the sort of features that are already in there, we've got some core stuff like we got clocks. A lot of it will just be SFML functions that we're just calling, but you don't interact with SFML, so there's like an abstraction layer. Obviously, external libraries are here. And then for graphics, this is nowhere near completed. The rectangle shape is pre-completed. Got the color stuff in there as well. So all different types of colors. Wanted to comment the code as well as possible. So this is drawable class. Sprite, I did it a little bit. I'm gonna get back to it once pretty much the itinerary is this. So once I've done these, we'll get really, yeah, I'll get onto Sprite, because Sprite is just going to be very similar to the rectangle class with, you know, textures essentially instead of just like some sort of basic color. We got the input. We got obviously events. Again, a lot of this is SFML stuff. You know, we just don't interact with it on the game side. We got input stuff as well. This is what we've put in there. So you can do multi-device chord press. So you can check if multiple buttons being pressed across multiple devices. So that is really cool. You can check if a joystick button is pressed, any mouse button or any keyboard button. That's great for when you're on a menu and it says press any key to continue. So you may want any mouse key, any joystick key, or any keyboard key, or, you know, all of them. So, you know, just simple joystick stuff. Again, a lot of it is derived from the SFML stuff. QTE stuff, so the quick time events. And this is what I was working on last, so I'll continue with this. With sensor stuff, not really much done in there. That's more just, again, it was built on top of the SFML stuff that was in there. Sequences is what I implemented as well. So you can have a sequence that ticks up, ticks down. It can be based on a mouse press, keyboard press, joystick press. And so a lot of the use case of that is if, let's say, you're on a game and it says, you know, smash, because it's got controller support as well. So let's say smash the X button. You have to keep smashing it. That would be like a tick up event. But then something could trigger, you could have, let's say, the mouse press for that. But then if X amount of time passes, you could have the tick down event. So let's say the mouse press, so you got to get it from 0 to 100 to, you know, get the enemy off you, for example. And every time you press the button, it ticks up by 5. But for every, I don't know, half a second that you don't press it, it ticks down by 1. So it's like ticking up, but you can't, you know, stop. You got to keep pressing it. You know, there's some use cases. Again, these are common stuff in a lot of games. Just wasn't really seen in basic, simple game engines. This is just a basic asset manager. I haven't touched this in ages. This is just the one file that you would include. Physics world, again, haven't touched this in a while. And there was just a basic player class that we can move stuff around in. Again, this is all interacting with the game engine code right here. Nothing much in that, so it's all in the to-do. Okay, so just woke up and saw this. Looks pretty interesting. The one who plays, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yeah, I remember doing something like this a few years ago. It wasn't for, no, it wasn't for the, this game engine. It was for something else. I did something on freebit.js. I did something on OpenGL as well. That was low level. That was literally building from scratch. And I was doing GFW, SFMI, and STL. Again, it wasn't like a real practical thing. It was more just fun and just to see combining all three together in one game engine. They could choose, any one of them. This is meant to be a more practical thing that once it's done, you could, potentially build some sort of basic game on there. Again, I'm not saying you're going to build the most complex game on there. That's not the, the point of this. And currently, it should work on Windows as well, technically. Because if we open up the folder, we have two platform folders. This is a project group setup that I did. The Windows there as well. The Windows has not been opened in ages. I may reset up the Windows one and just do the coding on Windows instead. Because one, I've got Visual Studio installed. Two, I've got more disk space on my Windows machine to be able to do it. It's more powerful as well for the streaming. Still be limited by the internet connection, but in terms of the PC itself, more powerful. The other thing is, in the newer version of macOS Catalina, with Xcode, there's some weird thing where I can't actually run. Now, what it is, if I run the game or the application that I'm developing from Xcode, you don't have keyboard input. You need to turn it off, enabling the, accessibility of the security and privacy section, launch it up again without compiling it. And that's just annoying, that is. So what I would do, I just build it, open it from here, and it's fine because it's only within Xcode. Like, you have to give Xcode permission for the debugging. So they don't have a debugging feature really either. So like moving to Windows wouldn't be that much of a big deal. I would need to do this reset up again. So that's something I'll probably do off screen, this gate setup. I think for the most part, it literally would be just adding the files into the Visual Studio project. So that will be the main thing. I think I'll try that. That would be the better solution. So once, I'll let this component stuff install. I'd like to do like, just 10, 15 minutes of code now here. So again, this first video is more just an introduction more than anything. And then from there, we would be, coding what we need to do. Okay, so if we wait for that, we'll go to the QTE file. So we're going to do a QTE timer. After it runs out, the QTE is reset. The restart function, so we can call that for the QTE timer. Yes, currently QTE works with the next input, but there's no timer. Usually, if you have a QTE in a game, I can go to war where you have to press a button, then another button, then another button. It's usually, if you don't press that button within X amount of time, let's say 1 second, it'll reset or go back to the previous event. It's usually just resets. So that's what we want. And then maybe you click that event, then that timer basically goes back up. What's QTE timer 2? After it runs out, the QTE goes back 1 or refinement, default rollback. Yeah, so that's what I was saying, just goes back an event. So having these functions in there, so when you start coding the game, you're doing more game stuff than engine stuff. So like, that was the other purpose of this. I wanted it so the more you used it, they got to a point where you could just code your game instead of having to start launching that, instead of having to, work on the engine every single time. Or like engine-like features almost, and not game-specific features. Okay, let's get this launched up. Activity monitor. Let's see if there's anything. I think it's more of a CPU or RAM issue. Probably both, to be fair. Then this is a 2013 MacBook Pro, late 2013, so we've got a struggle on this, to be fair. Now that we've got Xcode open as well. I'm going to close down Notion. I'll reopen it after. I don't need it for this. Really the most intensive stuff is what I already had before. Okay, that's gone full screen. I forgot that I put it full screen. I often can't need that open. Okay, so here we go. Currently, if I just run it, build, okay, so that's built. You're not going to know, it's not going to be nothing fancy, but if I just run this, we got two windows, one with terminal, one will be the actual application itself. And it's 000 because that's the sequence. So the sequence kind of, I've actually got it noted down, but I'll have a look on it so you can see. So we've got /state. So the sequence is, this is a sequence, it has to be B, C, F, Z, number 2. So if I press C, that don't do anything. If I press B, that changes to 1. Ignore the first 0. The first 0, I think, is just state that it's been completed. So what is it? B, C, F, Z, number 2. C, F, Z, number 2. So do F, nothing. C, F, Z, number 2. That means, it is now complete. So that is a sequence that it has been built in the sequence feature. Let me shut this down. And so we wanted to do a timer-based QTE. So it's kind of an extension of what we've already got. Okay, so void QTE. What should I name this? We've got next import one. Then what I could do is just add a variable here. So I could do a const float timer equals 0. And that will break. It does not need to be here as well. It's the let me just get rid of this. Okay, yeah, so could we put the default timer in there to be 0? We don't need to put it here as well. So if that's the case, we need to basically do some sort of timer thing. We have timer stuff built in. I will open up the timer class on here. Okay, so well, where are we going to timer class? Now a bit more clock, won't it? It'll be the clock. That'll be more. We need a clock. So by default, if it's 0, that means there is no, what's it called, timer feature. So that's the way we'll do it. And we'll have a clock. So we're gonna have clock. What's it called? Clock. And we'll name this clock. Yeah, that's fine. If that's still running, okay. Unknown type clock. Okay, so we need to actually add it there. Yeah, it's looking pretty good, looking like you'll probably run now. Moment. Okay, so we got clock. Let's do the commenting one on here. Clock to track the PT between reps. Okay, so the elapsed time. The elapsed time is going to return it in. That's very. Okay, so this timer will have it as, add another param. So timer time between maximum allowed time between events for reset in, we're doing milliseconds. Press space, I should just be able to open up another one. Okay. Second, millisecond, and microsecond. Microseconds, definitely need that. Could do it as just regular seconds, and it'll just be a float. Yeah, I think that should be fine, to be fair. It can always be modified after reset. In seconds. Seconds. So, but the thing is, the clock's always going to be ticking automatically. So we don't need an update function. I don't think we need an update function for this. So if we have, checking comments. Okay, so if we have, okay, so we check, does the key that the user pressed equal the next one in the event list? If so, we do this. If we do this, we are also going to reset the clock. So we are also going to do clock dot reset. The clock gets reset, that's good. But before this, we'll actually do a check on if underscore clock dot get elapsed time dot add seconds is greater than or equal to, yeah, I'm going to assume that if you say a second, once a second has passed, that's it. It's not greater than a second, it's 1 second. Is greater, do we need a timer here or not? So that would mean we could have, if we have a timer here, so okay, so this is interesting. The question is, do we add a timer here in every next input function call? And the benefit of doing that is, if we, let's say if we have this, but you know that event where we had ECFZ number 2? Maybe the first 3 you had to, or maybe the first 2 didn't matter how much time it took between them, and the last 3 had to have a time, and then on top of that, it might be different times. So that is actually quite a useful thing. Obviously, that's on the game implementation then, for you as the developer, game developer, to put that in there. Okay, so if we say the elapsed time is greater than the timer, then we need to just do a restart anyway. Then the restart is, where was it? And there it is. So we just do a restart. And realistically, we should just return now. Or instead of doing that, we just wrap the rest in an else. Wrap the rest in an else. I want to check, make sure it still works the same way as it did before. We may not, because timer, if it's 0, I think I'll have to add an extra check. Let me have a look. I'll find out in a second. If I type in do, nothing works. That's because the 0 thing. So if, and timer is greater than 0. So as long as it's greater than 0 as well, so if I press B now, S now C, F, the number 2, there we go, it's still complete. But if I was to, this is going to be pretty cool. If I put the timer, I'll just put the timer as default here for now. No, yeah, I'll put in the, no, where it should be. So if I go down to splash state, where am I doing the next event? And let's say if I put a value of 2.0, and now you have 2 seconds between the events. So if I press B, no, is it B? I didn't like that at all. The clock needs to be reset as well here. Realistically, instead of putting the pressure, let's reset the clock there. The question is it possible that we don't want the clock reset there? It is possible, potentially. Let me rerun this again. And if I do B, 2 seconds, so realistically, we need to print out the time. If we do not print at the time, it makes things really difficult. Without printing at the time. So we commented, hey, you can say your name's Colonic Claramis. Yeah, hello. Okay, so in here with that 0 if completed, we'll keep that one there. We'll put, we'll format this a bit. We'll say if completed. Okay, so we're going to have another out. I'm going to say not if completed, this will be timer. That will not work, at least I think it shouldn't work. There might be something called outcode timer potentially. Yeah, that's fine. But that's where we're going to put it. Okay, so we need to be able to. We need a method for getting the timer. We'll copy one of these, get one of these getters. And we'll say, over here, get clock. And sorry, get the clock, get the Q2 clock. Output returns the event clock. Okay, so we are going to return the clock. That will not work because I need to update the variable to be of clock of these. This should only get one error now. Yes, that means we can switch over to here. And then we've got QTE get dot day elapsed time dot as seconds. Remember the sequence is, I'm going to note this sequence down, this on some paper, just so I have it. I roughly know it, but BC, the FZ, FZ number 2. I should only continue Z and number 2 on my paper. Okay, so if I build this, shouldn't get any errors now. First of all, let's answer the timer. Time is going up, great. So if I press B, why is that not all there? No, I want this all there at the bottom. Let me do. I think I pressed the only one thing. I'll press B. There. If I press B, why is that not resetting back to 0? Okay, so we need to do event position, also need to reset that as well. Now, so I'm calling restart. Timer is greater than 0, and the elapsed time is greater than timer. Let me make sure that this is really printing out. somebody commented, how do you implement collision in a 2D game, Ash? Okay, so it depends on what game engine or game thing you're using. Like, if you could provide me with a bit more context. If not SDL, Cocos, I can help you. Then I've already got some tutorials. If not, I should be able to link you with something else. But I need a bit more context, otherwise I can't really help. So let me know. What was I? If I go up to about the 2-second mark, just after 2 seconds, no, that yay did not get printed. So that means it's not getting into here. Timer is, let me just print out the timer. Just in case for some reason the timer isn't getting printed out. Timer, minute. This should be a timer dash. That's strange. Hello, so it's immediately obvious that there's a difference. Yeah, I can't see no, not see the hello one anywhere. As far as I'm aware, nothing but it getting called. Is it? Oh no, it only gets called if I, yeah, it won't get called unless I do this as a big. That's the issue. I think he was working on it. He just wasn't getting any actual update. So the issue seems to be, I think I will need that update method. Yeah, let's write this update method in there. I can always move if I figure out a way to do without it. I think I should code the update method before this. Update the QTE. Update this one. Update. Okay, so in the update, we would put this with there's no timer here. Actually, no, but we do need to do a comparison with timer. Timer is required. Now, I like the idea of having a timer for each individual one. The only other way I could see is if there was a different time for each individual event. cut. This would just need to be a sector of floats, I guess. Not really. Onions. Yeah, I guess that should be fine. For event time list. Let's call this can be a float list of all the events of the individual time of the events. The QTE. Okay, so if that's the individual one. And we need to have this here as well. We'll have to update it over there as well, but it's not that bad. If I grab this, nice, we'll still do check if more than 0. Yeah, I think I know what that is. It won't be in here in the splash state. That should be fading, so it's not really much of an issue at the moment. You need this here. Yeah, really. Doesn't need the timer, but we'll remove that in a second. I'll remove this. I'll remove this. Okay, so I'm going to go to here now. So we also need what time? So we're going to say 2.0, comma 2, 3, 4, 5. I should fix that error now. This 2 does not make a difference, so I will remove that. We still need to call the update every single time. So really we should be doing that before any of this stuff. So we should be doing QT update. Do we need a DT? That's the delta time for the time between frames. Ooh, do we need to factor that in? Do we need to factor in delta time with this? Or not? This is a movement based. I'm not 100% sure. For now, I'm going to say we don't need to factor it in, and we can factor it in if we have to later. Build successful. Let's have a look. So the reset is happening. If I do is BCFZ2, B, C, F, Z. If I forget to press it, boom, BCFZ2. Oh, that's very interesting. And I think, I do want it like this. Well, I need to figure out why this has happened. Because it doesn't reset it if everything's all complete. But then why is that? The only thing I can think of is that the event position is no longer getting reset. Oh yeah, that's fine. So it's just because I think it's just because the default at 0 there, basically. That seems okay, to be fair. Seems to work pretty well. Okay, so we can get rid of the timer here. Don't need it here. But I do like having them individually. That's still a nice little feature. You should still build. That's a rollback command. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up here. I can get rid of this as well. I'm going to launch up GitHub. And then just commit it with the most useful commit messages in the world. So I'll put QTE. What do we do? QTE timer resets to start. That's actually not that bad. Sometimes I just put code. But for this sort of stuff, I'm trying to get out of that habit and do it actually properly. For some stuff, I'm like, yeah, fine. Something like this, a bit more serious, like this game engine. Even if it's just for personally for me, it'd be easier for me to tick back if I ever have any issues. So that's all committed now. And what I will do, I'll undo what I did that space there so we wouldn't close. So we've got this, because at the moment it's only for the keyboard. So I manually put the keyboard one in there. So probably have to do something for the keyboard and mouse as well, but that stuff I'll have to figure out later. But again, the event list is only for the keyboard and mouse and the next input. That's something I can figure out soon enough. And then once I've done that, yes. Rapid button tapping, similar to ticking up, but needs to go down as well, so you need to press it fast. Okay, so I need to implement that as well. And yeah, looking forward to this. Hopefully this live stream stuff makes me gain to more of a rhythm and do it, more often. Don't know how often I'll do it. Ideally once a day would be nice, but once a week definitely, but once a day it would be nice. And for now, no specific time. You also have to tune in or just whack it on. What I'm going to do after this is try and get set up on Windows using Visual Studio for the simple reason it will be a lot faster on my Windows machine. So, Francis wasn't that slow. It was not the slowest, but it wasn't the most ideal either. So I'll see. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this or anything else, let me know in the comments or anywhere. And I look forward to seeing you in the next live stream. And if you ever have any tips regarding this, what I'm currently implementing, future features that have been planned out, or future features that I don't even have listed yet, let me know. And I'll try and put it in there, because the whole point of this engine is obviously to be community driven, but also to make it so it's something that we useful for actual games. and for it not to be really high level or really low level, sort of in between. You create simple 2D games, and it has obvious features. So if there's a feature that you think is prevalent in a lot of games out there, let me know if it is. I'll spot it on that list, and when I'll get around to implementing it, or implement it, or if there's any bugs that you see, errors, or anything that you think I can update, let me know. These warnings are fine. They're just moaning about some precision, but I'm well aware of that. Returning reference to local temporary object, again, the whole point of it is so we can't actually modify any of this, but so it's like the least amount of overhead as well. So these warnings are fine. If there's anything else, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you in the next live stream. Time to finish this up.